Hello, I am Lisbeth, and this is This I'm Possible Life podcast. This episode, I am 2 weeks and one day in. I didn't get to recording this on Monday because I am actually in my parents' basement. I've traveled to Michigan, and so scheduling is a little bit off, but I still got my update for you. So it has been hard to tell, like, if the hormones and the frequencies are working because my schedule and diet have been so completely off from what they normally are. But after this week, I have decided that I really need to cut out dairy, added sugar, and alcohol for a little while, let my gut reset, and get back to seeing, all right, how is this hormone therapy helping? But I will say the sleep is still good despite the alcohol, which usually isn't, um, with the combination of the hormones and the frequencies going all night long. I really love those frequencies. I've also been exploring some of the other ones. Enlist cannot recommend the app enough. I mean, it's a 30-day free trial, so why not try it? You totally should. All right, mindset focus. Oh, sorry, one more update on that. The patch did not quite last the week with being in Michigan summer, with lake swimming, it's pool swimming and showers. It came off in one of the lakes that I was swimming in. So I'm hoping it fares better this week. I've already been swimming in Lake Michigan, so hoping that that's not a problem because I was wondering about that. Like, how does this work if you're in the water? All right, mindset focus this week, the stories we tell ourselves. This has come up a lot. It has been a theme. I have a person who's been messaging me about this, asking me about it. I often point out to them that's a story you're telling yourself. Is it serving you? And then on the Growth Day app, Brendan talked about it for one of the daily fires. And I was like, all right, that is our theme for this week. So, stories you tell yourself. What does that even mean? What that means is our entire reality is just that. It is a story. Because how we perceive a situation is dependent on where our mindset's at, our past experiences, how we were raised. All of those feed into how we see a situation, which is why it's completely possible for two different people to see the same situation completely differently. That's where then the proof that this is a story comes in. And so it's not that one person is telling the truth and one person is lying. They can both be true and they can both be false at the same time, right? Because it's our perspective. And so if it's our perspective and the story that you're telling yourself is that you're never going to get that thing that you want, the world is against you, like everyone else has it easier than you, where does that story get you? Right? So there's a couple questions that you can start to ask yourself to bring this reflection into your life. And the first one is it really true? Right? Especially when you're speaking down on yourself. Or you might want to like assign a friend to constantly be the one to mirror back to you and say, is that really true? Right? Is that really true? So we often make these blanket statements about ourselves. I'm not a morning person. Is that really true? Or are you having a hard time getting up because you're eating things that make you sluggish? You're staying up really late, scrolling on your phone. Like, there's a lot, like, when you've set yourself up on a pattern where you go to bed really late and then you sleep in. And, like, right, there's a lot of things that could lead into it. Or because you have that belief, like, you're not going to do anything to even try to change that story, right? I just used that simple example, but this works for a lot of things. A lot of times we'll have stories around money. That's a big one, right? Big one. Ways that you can discover the stories that you're telling yourself is one, you can just get curious. And if you have something in your life that's not working out how you were wanting it to, that's a great opportunity of a place to get curious about that. So you can ask yourself, is it true? Ask yourself, where does this story come from? Like I said, a lot of times our perspective, how we're seeing a situation, is a result of how we were raised or situations that happened in our past. But it doesn't mean that it always has to be that way moving forward, right? We're a different person than we were before. So other people are different than they were before. It might not be like how you want to be in that situation. And so you can just decide you want to change how you are, right? There's all kinds of different scenarios there. But what you can ask yourself after you identify that you've been telling yourself this story that's not serving you anymore, the next question is, what's a more empowering story? And this often can be like the tiniest tweak, right, to your story to make it more empowering. How you shift your perspective around it can empower you to change and grow. For let's take our simple example of the morning person. If you question that story, a more empowering story you could tell yourself is, um, I am a person who wants to accomplish dot dot dot, right? And in order to do so, I'm going to work on building a morning routine because that will get me to where I want to go. That's an empowering story. It doesn't mean you're there yet. It doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, but you've now opened up your mind to being able to move forward on that. If there's like a statement that you've been saying about yourself, one thing that you can just add to it to shift your story just a little bit is yet, right? I haven't, I haven't figured out how to be a morning person yet. Right? I am not good at math yet. I am the queen of reminding people to add yet to their sentences, especially my students. It really shifts everything because you open up the possibility. So then your brain will start looking for ways to make that thing happen. You want to work on rewriting the story so that you can have the life that you want to lead. And it starts with your thoughts, right? You have to catch yourself in those thought loops. Thoughts are a frequency. This connects back to the telepathy tapes, which I have previously recommended and I still recommend, right? Thoughts have a frequency and it does affect. So if you're walking around the world like, oh, I hate everything, the weather's you are vibrating a specific frequency that probably isn't going to get you what you want. But you've been around people who vibrate more of that positive, open, curious, fun, joyful frequency, and you want to be around them. You know who those people are. So, who do you want to be? Which frequency do you want to be sending out there? And that is what they talk about with manifestation. But there is a physical side to that. Like your thoughts are the first step to bringing into your life what you want to bring into your life. So if you're constantly saying, I will always have problems with money, I will never have enough money, guess what, honey? You're never gonna have enough money, right? That's like money mindset 101. You have to live in your abundance and you have to change your thinking around it, right? You have to see the possibility. You have to change your thoughts. And it is okay if you have that thought again. Like, say you're working on rewriting this thought loop and it comes to you again. What I don't want you doing is saying, "Oh, there I go again, having that thought. I'm never gonna get free of it." If you had like a child in your life and they were working on something and they messed up again, is that how you would talk to them or a friend? No. We have to come from a place of love and self-compassion. Of course you had that thought again. It has got a very ingrained loop in your brain. Of course you did. But it's okay. You can forgive yourself and you can choose again. Choose that thought again. And you can do this again and again and again. So this week, I want you to focus on discovering the stories that you are telling yourself and reflecting on, is that an empowering story or is there a more empowering story that you could be telling? All right. See you next week.